Okay, I want to present the comedy brand store to you and talk a little bit about what we're doing, how we're working, and all that kind of stuff. You can, if you click on this, you can access this presentation, and you can also access all of our social media as well as our website and the little intro video that you saw a little bit earlier. So if that's something of interest to you, then definitely go to that uh, use that QR code and access that information. So comedy brands and comedy in your digital brand. This is a presentation that I gave for DFW SEM at the 345 presentations about 2 nights ago. I am Andrew Rittler. I am the Chief Visionary Officer for the Comedy Brand Store, and what my role is to come up with some of the ideas, the vision for the corporate branding going forward, the vision for what we're going to do, how we're kind of going to operate, and also how we pick clients, how we choose who we're going to hire, what are the things that are the most relevant and important aspects of what we're doing from the standpoint of how we operate on a daily basis. So that's kind of what my role is. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that we're not hiring Larry, Moe, and Curly. You're not hiring them as your marketing person. That's not really not how this works. We have a much more distinct way of developing a comedic voice for a brand and helping them to understand what's important and what is not important when it comes to their brand. So we want to make sure that we're evaluating who is comedy right, for whom is comedy right, which companies, and how do they utilize that type of voice, corporate voice in their branding. So we're definitely cognizant of that and thinking about that as we move forward with the company. This is our CEO, Rose Catherine Epler. She's in marketing and she has done stand-up comedy. She actually, if you look at our social media, you'll see that she's doing stand-up comedy pretty regularly during the week. And so she's involved in that and is definitely somebody to go see when you get an opportunity. What are the limitations of comedy? What are the what can you use? What can you not use comedy for? Um, from a different positioning and that kind of thing, we try to help companies understand what is appropriate when it comes to the use of comedy and what's not appropriate when it comes to the use of comedy. So we that's one of the things that we help brands understand, and we want to work with brands that are willing to adopt these types of opportunities and pivots as they see fit. Pete Havel is our Chief Cultural Officer. Pete is very interested in what a company is doing internally, how they communicate with their employees, how the CEO positions themselves and the corporate executives position themselves within the company. Are they doing so in a way that is lighthearted? Are they doing so in a way that makes them seem human and real? That's one of the things that we hope the Comedy Brand Store will be able to help individuals communicate and help them to understand what is of key importance when it comes to how they position themselves from an internal communications position as well. Pivoting. This is an important aspect of what we're talking about related to what are the limitations of comedy. I talked about how a company, one of the things that's really important that companies consider is when they want to do comedy, what has been the position that their brand has had? Are they a startup or have they been in business for a long time? What has that corporate voice looked like in the past? So we examine a lot of their social media and we do audits based on what they've done in the past for social media and what we feel like they need to do to pivot going forward. How does that, how does what they're doing, how does that impact their corporate brand and their corporate voice? So that's something that we are strongly looking at when we consider bringing on a client and what they're doing. Obviously, this is me. I don't need to do any introductions on that. What does comedy look like for your brand? So in other words, are you a brand that can use subtle comedy, or are you a brand that uses an more overt approach to comedy? That's important to understand as well as it relates to how you utilize comedy in your brand. And it's something that we will help evaluate throughout the process as well, figuring out how that comedy should look, how that levity that you want to bring to your brand should look going forward. Should comedy be a passive or active campaign within your brand? So, one of the things that we are looking at when we do an audit with a company coming out of the gate is, what is comedy going to look like within your brand? Is it going to be a front and center within your brand, or is it going to be an occasional type engagement that your brand will use when the time is right, when the time is appropriate? Or is it more campaign based? Do you have campaigns that you are rolling out that call for that type of engagement, type of interaction with clients? So that's something that we're looking at too when we take a look at an audit. Auditions, we are currently hiring for um, graphic designers. We're currently hiring for all types of comedic content and comedy writers. So if you're interested in that, please go to our website and go to the we're hiring tab on the website, and that will lead you to where you need to go to take a look at how to work with us if that's something of interest to you. Should comedy? Okay, we've already done that one. Um, how to you measure success for your comedy and for your comedy infusion into your brand. So one of the things that we will evaluate is how you measure the success of a particular campaign or a particular aspect related to comedy. So does the comedy, is it getting engagement? Is it experiencing the kind of engagement that you want from your customer base, from your client base? And if it's not, how do we improve that? How do we fix that? How do we again pivot to make sure that you are getting the best exposure that you can get from a social, from a website, from a sales funnel perspective, from a blog perspective, even articles and internal email newsletters and external email newsletters and things like that. So those are things that we examine. Probably one of the more important things that you will learn related to pivoting with comedy is that how does your brand be funny? These are all the things that a brand can do to be funny. These are things that brand needs to take into account when they are being trying to be funny. But this is probably at the top one of the more important things, and it's helping and it helps you understand how to pivot in a way that is comedic and funny. And so you start with being fun and as opposed to being funny. And so that's one of the more important things that we help a brand do, is identify ways to be fun, ways to be exciting, ways to bring the energy, and to pick the audience that they're looking to try and cater to. If it's a younger generation, if it's an older generation, those are things that you have to take into account in how you do this approach. Be memorable, and just do it, and then make it unexpected. So those are things that our organization helps brands do and helps them to find the voice and then be able to pivot in doing those types of things. I want to talk about who does funny the best. These are some examples of companies and brands that do a really good job of bringing comedy, and so Taco Bell is definitely one of those ones that does it. Here is an engagement with another brand that's funny as well, Old Spice, who does a really good job of bringing the funny and doing that in a comedic way. And so Old Spice and Taco Bell here, this is a way that they have the brands have actually merged together to kind of engage one another on that type of comedy. So that's a funny way of doing it as well. Old Spice here again. This is just goofiness, but they do a good job of the funny, bringing that humor to the brand, bringing that excitement and that you know they're just goofy with their stuff, and it works for them and it works for their brand. So they do a good job of it. Oreo had all the best timing in the world. Oreo does a good job of their branding as well. In Super Bowl, during the Super Bowl in 2013, we had a power outage, and they were Johnny on the spot with coming up with a tweet that really hit the nail on the head. You can still dunk in the dark. That was a massive, massive hit, and garnered not only did it garnered a lot of earned media attention. So that was huge opportunity on their part for that brand to really capture the moment and be spontaneous and be funny at the same time. Wendy's is probably the master of tweets, and they do such an amazing job of engaging their customer base in a way that makes sense, in a way that is funny, in a way that is not doesn't put their customer base down, but still just really drives home some funny messages. And we think that Wendy's is a good example of that type of humor and comedy. KFC does a great job on their social media of making it fun and bringing that fun aspect to their tweets. And so it's not necessarily side-splittingly hilarious, but it is definitely fun, and it's something that they do well. So strongly recommend that you follow KFC to see good examples of humor. In fact, this is their followers. They only have 11 followers. And if you know anything about KFC's mission, vision, and values, you know that they utilize 11 herbs and spices in their in their in their recipe. And so they subscribe to 6 guys named Herb and all 5 of the Spice Girls. And those are the only people that they follow. And so that's a little known fact about KFC. And if you go to their Twitter page today, that's the only ones that you'll see for sure. So that's just a little bit about the Comedy Brand Store. We hope that you will take the time to go to our website at www.comedybrandstore.com. Again, utilize the QR code if you are interested in learning more information about us and seeing some of our social pages and social presence and that kind of thing. We do launch September 1st, as the video indicated earlier, and we would love to engage brands on different topics and various opportunities that we have within our organization. And we do more than funny. We can help you get reviews. We can help with your website, SEO. We can help with your make sure that your Google My Business is optimized to the greatest degree that it can be, so that you can capture more traffic, that you can begin. That's part of the full stack offering that we give as part of the Comedy Brand Store. So thanks for tuning in, and thank you for the opportunity to work with you closely.